What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Bear With Us podcast. I'm your boy Frank. Joining me today is Nas. Nas, how you feeling?
Feel good, baby.
Hey, listen, the weather's starting to be nice to us now. It's been beautiful out here this last
I've
week.
been outside every day for the last week. Even the days it's rained, I've found time to be outside. It's been great.
Nice. Yeah, today actually was the first day in quite some time because I have to go to the office where I work on Tuesdays. And I swear for 3 months straight, it rained every single day, every single Tuesday. Today was not one of those days, so it was nice. I had a nice little walk after lunch.
We love those after lunch walks, babe.
Oh yeah,
we really do.
Oh, it's great. There's a nice big park by me. Take a couple laps, get back in, get some sunshine, feeling good. Finish the workday strong. It feels great. Nas, one may think it's May 22nd. What the fuck do these guys have to talk about when it comes to the Chicago Bears? And let me tell y'all something. There's a lot to talk about, baby, because the schedule was released, I believe, last Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. And in typical NFL fashion, I mean, they just they're the pinnacle of American sports in terms of media, in terms of the empire that they have, because only they could just have people on the edge of their seats. Wait, who are we gonna play week 1? What are gonna be the primetime games? And it's not even just one team. It's not a couple of fan bases. It's the whole league. The whole league is just excited to see what their team's schedule is going to be. It's very funny. And we sort of talked about this with the NFL draft as well. If you really break it down, we're just a bunch of idiots staring at our screen, waiting for 10 minutes for a guy to come up and tell us who the next player that's going to be on your football team.
Right.
It is absurd. Nas, before we even get there, and I didn't prep you for this on purpose. Justin Fields spoke to the media for the first time as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Did you check any of that out?
I did not watch anything. I did see a quote of him saying, my expectations are something along the lines I don't have the expectation to be sitting all year.
Yeah, so he spoke about the competition between him and Russell Wilson. I thought he handled that wonderfully. He was like, look, we know we're competing, but my mindset is I'm not going to sit the whole year, which is the exact mindset every quarterback should have. But the one that caught my eye more importantly was they asked him about his time in Chicago, and he had, he took the high road in saying, when they asked him, do you think you were put in the best situation? I forget exactly what he said, but he would just, football talk. It was what it was. But I don't remember if he was asked specifically, but he made it a point to shout out Ryan Poles and say, this is the place where I wanted to be, and he made sure that I got here. So shout out to him because he did right by me. And I just want to sort of pat ourselves on the back because we all talked about this. Regardless of, how wrong me and Jack were about the compensation that they got back, I did believe, and I think all of us believed Ryan Poles when he said he was going to set, if and when it was going to happen, it was going to be in a situation that set him up best to succeed, even if it meant, less in return. Now, again, I don't think he turned down a second. I think he would have convinced Justin, hey, maybe the Patriots are a little bit better situation for you if a second was really on the table. But do I think there were a guaranteed fourth in there? Absolutely. Or a fifth even. There's no doubt in my mind that a team, didn't float out something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool because I think our biggest point, and then I'll throw it to you, Nas, if you have anything different to say, our biggest point was these guys are humans and that stuff matters. So when people who maybe a new scheme comes into play or their contract isn't, the contract negotiations aren't going as well as they want it to be, they can have faith that this guy is still going to do right by them. Is not just going to do them completely dirty, which I think goes a long way as an executive in the league.
Yeah, I think at the very least, the PR job that was just done for Poles, pretty good. I mean, do I agree with you that was the disparity not much from whatever the best offer was? It probably wasn't. If there was I bet if there was if there was a third rounder in there from another team, I think he's taken that, But good. Hey, good for Poles, and thanks to Justin. I hope that convinces. I hope that just kind of keep swaying the public opinion of oh, this is the place that you want to be, and this is this is a model organization, and it would be nice to trend that way for once instead of a dumpster fire. So I'm cool with it.
Yeah, again, I feel like we're going to have a full episode about this. Naj, you brought up a really good point in the group chat yesterday. It's let's start getting some of these more minute and fun or even silly to a degree topics when there's literally nothing to talk about. But this is the 2015 Cubs, dude. Like, that was the same exact thing. That was when Theo left the market. And it's like, all right, people really want to play here now. They got Chris Bryant. They got Rizzo. They got the big fish in John Lester. Like, the parallels are almost unmatched. Will the Bears win a Super Bowl in this era? Who knows? But again, I think what we all appreciate is there's a real system in place here. There's a real vision. There's a real philosophy, and it's being executed. And the thing is I'm not saying this to hide from any sort of expectations, but I said the same thing in 2013 and 2014 and 2015 about the Cubs. I was like, will Theo bring a ring? Who the fuck knows? But this is the first time in my life that I'm watching a team get developed from the ground up, have a philosophy, and like, all right, if we go out, it's not because, we fucking didn't get Cutler a receiver until year 5. We didn't get him an offensive line until year 4. Like, it's done the right way. And if it crashes and burns, so fucking be it. But man, it just feels good to be a part of something that makes sense for once as a Bears fan.
Completely. Like, there seems to be a vision in the building of this team. And all the early stages are just so much fun too. Like, when you're on the come up, it's like, you don't have too much of a history with the player. So like, there's nothing to be like, oh, well, he's not going to come through on this. Like, we honestly don't know. And that's kind of like the fun part. And with a lot of upside and potential on the team, it's just like vibes couldn't be higher.
Yeah. And you know what? Oh, God, I'm so excited for that 2015 episode, if and when we do it. But is Justin Fields Starlin Castro? I think that's the comp. Got traded away.
I know it kind of is, but like Starlin, if people remember, and people seem to forget this, Starlin was like carrying our offense second half of that season. He hit like 370 the last like 50 games. It was fucking crazy. Like,
yeah.
And that dude, like, he had a huge impact on the team even after he left. Like, Rizzo like really appreciated him, the way he like took him under his wing when he was a young player, and like it did impact the culture of that team, even though he wasn't there on the team that won it. Do I think Justin is Starlin? No, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I was sort of thinking, I guess the trade away was the biggest comp. He never hit those Justin never hit those heights, because Castro had a few years where he hit 300, and did he not lead the league in hits once or twice as well? This is way before they were competing. He like had some good years.
3 years in a row. He hit 300 his rookie year. Like, he had some like highs.
Yeah.
On this team,
And it was really, I think, if I'm remembering now correctly, it was Javi Baez putting it together or was it the Zobrist signing? There was something that happened that was like, all right, now we don't have.
Well, like, we had Addy coming up.
Addy was another one.
Samardzija trade, so we get Addy back, and then Javi gets called up, and both of those guys, fielding wise, were better than Starlin.
Yep.
Starlin wasn't swinging the bat so well, so it started to become like a thing of where do we put this guy kind of thing. And then he goes on that tear and like finds a way to like be in the lineup more. And that 2015 season was so much fucking fun. Oh my god.
It was. And knocking the Cardinals out was great. And then who was it? Oh, and that's why that playoff run was the reason I was so pissed they traded Soler. Soler was a part of the championship team though, right? He was in 2016, I believe.
He has a ring for sure.
Yeah, I think he was. But I just remember being so upset because he was the only one that came to play against the Mets that series. Remember when they got swept 4-0? Like, he was balling. He was still balling.
Get him out.
Yeah.
He was not on the 2016 playoff roster.
So they traded him for Wade Davis? Wade Davis was the closer in 2016? No, it was Chapman.
No.
I think it was after that, Nas.
So yeah, he was on the roster.
Yeah. I don't remember how well he did in the postseason, to be honest with you. Was he hurt?
He was like, I know in that Cardinal series he played great in 2015. The Met series, we all kind of shit the bed. He was he still balled out a little bit. And then I don't remember him playing very much in the 2016 postseason.
Yeah, the memories elude me.
I mean, he could have easily been hurt because that's like the story of his career.
Yep.
Yeah, because I don't remember. I think that was probably it. He was probably hurt.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember him. I don't remember a single big hit 2016.
I don't either. Because I remember Schwartz came back for the World Series. And at that point, like, you probably don't even rush him back if Soler is healthy. Granted, he couldn't feel for shit, but just hitting wise.
Right.
And then he'd get to play DH a few of those games. So yeah. Well, anyway, that episode's going to be very fun. Nas, what we came here to discuss, the NFL schedule is out. We know all the games. The only one we don't know exactly is that Week 18 game against the Packers. What we do know is based off of last year, winning percentage and all, this is the third easiest strength of schedule that the Bears have. I won't give my thoughts yet. I will share you the thoughts, if you have not seen them, of Adam Hogue, who I highly respect. I think he's phenomenal at what he does. I like Hogue and Johns. I thought his take on the schedule was awful.
What do you say?
He was just really upset that I guess like he sort of took the, well, Caitlin Clark is getting all this attention. Look at that. And even like, I forgot who the other star he was, or maybe Victor Wembanyama, of like, yeah, he was on national TV in like week 1, or at least in the first half of the season. Caleb should be on national television and like get him out there. Like they're not promoting him properly. And I was like, this is the NFL, man. This is different. Like I don't want that at all for, okay. I wouldn't be upset if it was like Sunday night, but that's not something that I'm looking at and like, oh no, poor Caleb isn't getting marketed. Like, who gives a shit?
He's on national TV in week 2, so I don't know what the fuck Hogue wants. He's got 4 national TV games.
Yep.
So it's like, and one of these is gonna get flexed if we're good. So I don't know. That's just like the worst take I can think of.
It was weird. It was strange.
That's awful. And it's like also like, I would love for Caleb to get routine. I would like no national games. I would like 12 o'clock Sunday every week for the rookie quarterback. I would love that instead of having him to adjust. He's got to adjust week 2 to a Sunday night game. And then he's got 3 noon games in a row, which I freaking love. And then we go to London. Or are we playing in Germany or London?
It's Tottenham, London.
Tottenham. Okay, great. And then like, I like that there's another 3-week stretch where we play noon every week again from week 10 to 12. Like, that's great. And then the end of the season's crazy. Go 3:25, 7 p.m., 12 o'clock, 7:15. Like, I don't really know what the expectation is. Like, that feels like enough exposure. And if he's lighting it up statistically and we're winning games, ESPN's going to be drooling over this dude. Like, he's going to get plenty of coverage. Plus, I mean, and like, I know we talk about how we're supporters of Caleb being comfortable in his own skin and stuff. If we start out hot, he's gonna talk his shit, and that's gonna get coverage. So it's like, this dude is gonna be just fine getting covered as an athlete. There's no concern here.
I totally agree. And then the only thing that I was gonna add to your point, Nas, is that the one you talk about flexing, you may be talking about the biggest stage of his career at that point. If that Bears-Packers game means anything in Week 18, that doesn't even have a day and time yet. So they're clearly anticipating one, if not both of these teams being playoff contenders, and that game meaning something. And that'll be a huge game for him right there to really cement either a playoff run or knock the Packers out. But I mean, who knows? Plenty can happen. But
could mean nothing. It could just be the game he passes 4,000 yards, and that would be a big deal.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a multitude of reasons of which they may want to have this game on Sunday night, on Monday night. So yeah, I thought it was a strange take. I'm right there with you though. I've said it for different reasons in the past, but the Bears have not been very watchable in our lifetime, especially offensively. So, when I have to sit there and it's a fucking Monday night game and me and all my fantasy buddies are in the group chats and they're like, why the fuck are we watching the Bears right now? Monday night, like first day back at work for the week, and now these fucking bozos are up there, and here goes Mitch tossing his 3rd pick of the game. Like, what are we doing? But I'm right there with you for a rookie quarterback. And again, this is to hide from anything, because we're gonna get into sort of thoughts on the season, but the less, especially until we know the product that we have on the field, I feel this way not just about the Bears. We had the Jets on national TV after Aaron Rodgers got hurt last year fucking 18 times. No one wants to see that shit. In national primetime games, I want the creme de la creme. I want the fucking broadcast the Chiefs every single week for all I care. Give me the good stuff.
100%. 100%. I can't really add on. I can't really add on that.
So, Nas, I'm looking at this schedule. Let's talk weeks 1 through 10. Because I can forecast this being a tale of 2 seasons, like quite literally. Because I look at weeks 1 through 10, and I think there's one team for sure I think is better on paper, and that's Houston. maybe you can say the Jaguars as well. Everyone else doesn't scare me very much. I'm not advocating that they win all of those games. I don't think they're going into the Packers game and they're 10-0 or 9-0, whatever with the bye week. Titans should be tough week 1, very first game as a rookie, but I can imagine the Bears coming out of that with 5-6 wins, and we're thinking, holy shit, like we're here.
Out of the first 10?
I'm just saying you can squint. I don't know if they're going to win them all. I'm just saying on paper, I think they're more talented than the vast majority of those teams they play of the first 10 games. Like, are you scared of the Patriots on paper? Or the Cardinals even? Like,
I mean, honestly, the way Jacksonville was trending last year, I'm not even scared of them. Like,
that's what I mean.
I'm scared of Houston.
Houston, yes.
Tennessee week 1, don't like. And Indy's really well coached. The Rams, I hate to say it, they're gonna light our defense up. They're gonna.
Yeah.
I just know for a fact that's what's gonna happen, and it sucks. But you can't play this style defense against like sophisticated offensive minds. They will find a way to get explosives against us, and it's gonna come down to Caleb that game.
Yep.
Carol, I do like that we are playing the AFC South entirely in the first 6 weeks. Like, I think I actually really agree. Like, it is going to be a tale of two seasons because, like, the divisional games don't start until week 11.
Yep.
Like, that is hot.
I know.
Just like, because, like, if we, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, like, if we get off, if like 3 of the 4 teams get off to decent starts, the buildup to the collision in the second half of the season is going to be fucking awesome. And we'll all be looking forward to it. It will be appointment television. It'll get plenty of coverage, Hogue.
Oh, it will. And see, and this has been, though, forget the nationally televised games. This has been my point for years. We've played the Packers in week 1. It feels like every single year for the past 5 years. I was going to say I'm not scared of the Packers. They beat the shit out of us. So it's not like fear, but it's more of like, let's get these games where they really matter in the second half of that season. Week 1, because now it didn't wind up mattering because the Packers had been better than the Bears regardless. But even look at last year, that wasn't the same Packers team from week 1 to that. Like, imagine if the Bears sneak out a win there. It's more meaningful. These games are too meaningful to let a team who isn't fully gelled yet play them. And then all of a sudden, the second half of the season, you see 2 totally different teams because the Bears were as well. Granted, the Packers were still better, but I want all of these games played. Like I always said, week 5 and beyond. This is way more extreme than I've ever thought, but I love it. I absolutely love it. The only thing that you have to worry about then is injuries, but at that point, every team is injured in the second half of the season. It just is what it is. You just hope it's not your superstar players. But I love that, dude. When I saw that we didn't have a division game until week 11, I creamed my pants. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny is I saw the schedules coming out, and I purposely didn't look at them so I could get like a live react for myself for the pod.
That's awesome.
The first time I looked at it was like 20 minutes ago.
That's phenomenal. I love that.
And when I saw it, I was like, I just noticed it live on the pod. I didn't even notice it until we just talked about it now, and I'm aroused. I don't know what to say.
No, this is great.
Fucking sweet.
So the one thing, again, look, and I should have prefaced to the listeners and say, like, we are not picking wins and losses here. Things can drastically change. We have no idea what these teams are going to look like. On paper, it's the 3rd easiest schedule. It never works out that way. This is the NFL. Worst to first happens every single year. It's going to happen again with the Bears this year, obviously. But speaking to your point about playing the AFC North, essentially, back to back to back, I love that because it presents totally different styles of football to really see what this team is made of. Like, if the Bears are going to pull out a win against the Titans, it's going to have to be different than if they pull out a win against Houston. And especially I'm thinking of the defense, like the way that they're going to have to attack someone like CJ Stroud in week 2, but then Anthony Richardson in week 3. That's a totally different style of quarterback. Like, to me, we're going to really know what this defense in particular, offense, I could see a world in which they don't really hit the ground until the second half of the season. It's just a lot of different pieces, new OC, new quarterback. But this defense, I think, is going to have quite a bit of pressure on it, especially in that first half of the season.
I mean, if you just look at 30 easy schedule is one thing, but like if you look at the coaching part of that, Houston, good coach. Indianapolis, good coach. Rams, good coach. Carolina, don't know. Jacksonville, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, and I'll still never understand it. I don't think he's that good a coach. Washington, I'm not really. That guy also got a team to the Super Bowl, but blew the biggest lead in Super Bowl history. Arizona, good coach. New England, not sure. Green Bay, solid coach. Minnesota, solid coach. Detroit, solid coach. San Francisco, the best coach. Like, we are going, like, from a scheme standpoint, coaching is going to be at a premium, and we do have a difficult schedule if you look at it from that perspective. Got a great defensive mind in Seattle and Mike McDonald. Like, this is not a cakewalk. Third easiest schedule literally means nothing. It's a concern. Like, I could see 10, 11 wins out of the Bears. I could see 6. Like, I could see us playing close games and losing them.
Yep.
Because of the schedule and who's on the other sideline. So
yeah, I totally agree. One of the other things that I thought about, Nas, were I'm not even counting division games. Those are always important. Those are always, just circle them and you want to win every single one of them. The other games that I think are important, I think we can talk through them to see if you agree. And it has everything to do with Caleb Williams. What we've seen in the NFL is you can't, like, I guess just to set what I'm trying to do here, like, Victor Wembanyama took about 3 weeks for us to be like, he's one of the best players in the league. He's going to dominate if he stays healthy. He's a fucking freak. The NFL, it's very rarely like that. Even last year with CJ Stroud, for as good as he did, no one was like, he's better than Josh Allen. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to take these sort of steps to get there. I think the only one we've ever seen that with was Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, like, even Aaron Rodgers, people don't remember that first year he started. They went 6-10. He was up and down. And then, like, that second year was like, okay, maybe this guy's fucking better than everyone thought. And obviously he's one of the all-time greats. But very first one that I'm looking at is that Houston game. Now, forget wins and losses. What the graphics are going to be up. Everyone's going to be talking about it. It's CJ Stroud versus Caleb Williams. Now, the storyline's going to be, they passed up on CJ last year, even though Bryce was pretty much the consensus number one, in favor of this kid this year. And is he better? Like, to me, that's a pretty big moment. Sunday Night Football. I mean, we're going to see sort of, I think that's a chance to see sort of a pecking order, if you will.
I'm worried about Caleb in that game. Like, from a standing upright perspective.
Yeah.
Like, second week, rookie year. And I feel like CJ's going to, like, I'm just not a believer in the defense. I don't know what it is. Like, I know we're going to be solid, but when you got elite quarterback play, they just get exposed.
Yep.
And if that means Caleb has to put up points, I am worried about him physically. If we pull out a win in that game, that is going to put us on the map. Like, everyone's going to be talking about us after that game.
Yep.
If we lose that game or even get trounced, I think it's kind of a non-story. Like, I think we have nothing to lose in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Personally, I think Houston, they're now going to be the hunted. Like, no, they're not sneaking up on anybody. They've made these moves. There's been stories about CJ Stroud maybe talking a little too much, like surfacing
with the podcast and stuff. Just a little.
Yeah, like, just like CJ sounded real confident. Like, like, he needs to, like, watch out. And so I honestly think I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm okay with having a nationally televised game that early because I just feel like there's really nothing at stake for the Bears at that moment in the season.
This isn't a storyline of the Packers have been fucking 30-4 since Brett Favre took over, or since Aaron Rodgers took over, and blah, blah, blah. This is two young quarterbacks we want to get the spotlight on. Let's let them ball out. That's what it feels like to me, and that's why I like it. That's why I think this is an opportunity, because I don't, like, Houston's front seven is scary. I don't think their secondary is all, like, again, I don't want to do a total super breakdown into all these games because, again, we don't really know these teams. We'll do that once the games are actually here, but this could be an opportunity to see what the Bears offensive line really is about. Because the Titans don't scare you. Could the Bears still lose? Absolutely. Everything needs to gel, but Houston's the first scary game to me, and it just has the storyline of the two young quarterbacks. I'm excited about it. I think second game, and this is, Jack had texted us in the chat to make sure we make note of it, but I would have anyway, because I think we had the same exact thought. Listen, this is a chance, as crazy as it sounds, as silly as it sounds, for Ryan Poles really to stamp this shit. If Caleb Williams beats the dog shit out of the Panthers, and this Bears defense, picks off Bryce twice or whatever, and it's just like, look, I made the right, not only did I make the right decision, this was like an astronomically easy decision to make. Yeah. And I picked on you, and here's the stamp for it. Like, that's the real opportunity for this.
That would be hot. I mean, I think that's for sure going to happen. Like, I don't see, I think a healthy version of us, like, I don't see how we lose that game. Yeah, that's just, do you feel bad for Carolina fans at all?
I do, because I don't take them as like a crazy fan base or like a shitty fan base. And honestly, I think I really feel bad because their owner is not only is he inept, he's an asshole. Like, say what you will about George McCaskey. I know he can sound stupid sometimes in press conferences. I met him in person. He's such a sweet guy. Like, at least he's nice, right? Like, you can't be inept at your job and be an asshole. That's not cool at all.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's sort of where I feel bad for him.
It's a tough situation for them, It's like, you're not a marquee franchise, not a huge following. Like, the biggest other game in your whole state is college basketball. Like, yeah. So it's like, it's like an Oklahoma City Thunder style team, like it's a big deal. It's a shitty situation for them. That being said, I don't feel bad, like, not even a little, even though it's shitty.
Oh man, just heartless. Absolutely heartless. Next game for me is that very next week, Nas. Again, talking about this pecking order, I know Trevor Lawrence maybe isn't where people want him to be. I still think I've seen progress every single year from him. I think their expectations were a little bit crazy, especially after year one with everything he went through with, why am I blanking on the coach's name that they fired mid-season? Urban Meyer. I mean, that was literally no one succeeds. That's ridiculous. So that just totally set his development back a year. But again, this is another one of those opportunities to say, listen, not only because let me say, Trevor Lawrence was dubbed a generational guy, or as close to generational as I think Caleb is a peck above maybe as a prospect, but he was in that conversation. And this is another chance. And maybe I'm almost internalizing this and saying, like, if I'm Caleb Williams, who would I be circling? These are the games I would. I'd be like, all right, here's another one off the list. I beat CJ Stroud, or I outperformed him. Outperformed Bryce Young. Outperformed Trevor Lawrence. Like, this to me is another game, and you're over in Tottenham. Like, this is a real chance. The Bears, not for nothing, have a huge European fan base. I don't know. I listen to Around the NFL podcast. They've been doing it for like 15 years now, and they're like, we see Bears jerseys the Bears hadn't even played there. We just see them anytime we go over there to Europe. There's a bunch of Bears jerseys. It's great.
I love that for us. I mean, it feels like a very Caleb thing to do, right? Like, yeah, CJ, Richardson, like Bryce, Lawrence, Jaden, Kyler, like, can assert myself over these dudes, and Drake, like, can assert myself very quickly in this league by beating these dudes. Yeah. He's got to be, I think he's got that mindset for sure, dude. 100%. This dude's goal, he kind of reminds me, and this is going to be a little dorky, and I'm sorry for all you non-golf fans out there, but he kind of reminds me of young John Rahm. Like, and when young John Rahm got on the tour, like, he made his mission like the clearest thing ever. He's like, I just want to be the best of all time. I'm here to kill dudes. Like, that was like the mentality. And I think Caleb is kind of cut in that similar way. Like, he is here to assert himself as the best as quickly as possible. He is going to stomp on people's throats. Like, I really do think like that's his mindset. Yeah. I'm pretty pumped about it.
I totally agree. And it reminds me of the Anthony Edwards interview. They're like, oh, how are you taking to the Jordan comparison? He's like, oh, please stop. I'm not Michael. I got a long ways to go. Do you think he can guard you? Fuck no. Like, he immediately went into like, no, like, let's, I love that. Like, I think that's what we're getting with Caleb as well. Like, if you ask him like, yeah, do you think you're better than Aaron Rodgers? You'd be like, no. Well, are you a better passer? Fuck yeah, I'm a better passer. Are you kidding me? Like, if you see him, you know what I mean? Like, just sort of drawing those lines of like, I respect people, but I'm here to take off heads. But I mean, you named the very next one, Nas, week 8 after coming out of the bye. Not only, let me just make a quick point. Not only do I think this is one of those games that you circle if you're Caleb Williams, this is a chance. I feel like, even if you really like Eberflus, we keep getting these coaches cut from the same exact cloth, dating back really to Lovey. They come out of the bye weeks just dreadful. Like it looks like they just hadn't practiced football in a year. We need that to stop happening. To me, like this is year 3 of your install. This is a chance for you to really show, hey, we got our shit. Even if that doesn't mean you win the game, even though the Commanders aren't that great.
What's he installing though, Frank? Like, we run the same shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
The problem. That's the problem with it. You're coming off a bye week, and we're just doing like the same thing. There's no like extra layer that we're adding in. It's like what's Andy Reid's record off a bye? It's fucking like 23-1 or some shit like that. It's something crazy.
I would assume McVay is very good too.
Using that time, it's like Flus. We just gotta get better at what we're already doing. Execution. Fuck off.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. But regardless, even if that means having your guys ready, something has to give here. They can't come out flat after a bye week. It's ridiculous. Now, if they end up like fucking with 13 wins and that does happen, that's one of the losses. Who fucking cares, right? But for the sake of the conversation, but going on that,
I don't think Caleb's letting us come out flat.
I would hope not.
He knows what that game means.
Yep.
Like the comparisons for the rest of their careers are going to be a thing. You lose meeting number 1 against a guy who got drafted right after you. Like, Caleb doesn't want to set that tone. And usually sometimes those games mean something, sometimes they don't mean. Mariota, Jameis Winston, week 1 of their rookie year. Mariota, 5 touchdowns. Jameis Winston, I think he had 5 interceptions. And what did it ultimately mean? Well, pretty much nothing, because neither of them are with that team anymore. So, and if they were both good, they both still would be. So, it ultimately, sometimes it could mean something in the moment. I get it, but you also got to put it in perspective. Sometimes these games mean fucking nothing.
No, 100%. But to add to your point that we have a psychopath at quarterback, make no mistake, all throughout the offseason, because he knew I know they keep trying to play coy of we talked every now and then. He knew he was on probably even before the season ended. He knew he was a Bear. As soon as he was secured, he knew he was a Bear. He liked a lot of tweets. Favorited a lot of tweets. Would it shock me if he starts retweeting some of them after some of these games as heads are rolling? Oh, the Bears should take Jaden Dan. Okay, we just won 31-10. Here's a retweet. Here's a little razzle dazzle. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you facts. People went through his likes. They know what he's liking. Even to a point where I'm going to be fucking honest with you. I think Justin's a little lucky that we don't play the Steelers this year, because he liked a lot of those tweets too.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm loving the vibe from him right now.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, you know what? This is a game that I did not have circled, but now that I'm looking at the schedule, dude, if he's as psychopathic as we think he is, and we say this in a good way, let me say, we're not saying this in a bad, this is like the Michael Jordan psycho competitor type of thing. He may be circling the Cardinals as well, because there was a lot of, is he really Patrick Mahomes, or he's just a little bit bigger version of Kyler, which is supposed to be disrespectful, even though I think you're very down on Kyler. I'm not as down, but it was used as disrespect towards him. This may be another time to start retweeting some of those dudes who were saying that he's just Kyler.
Well, yeah, I definitely think Caleb is looking at it like a ladder.
Oh yeah,
who can I take down to go up another rung where they hold me in this regard? And Kyler, my personal feelings about him aside, he's proven to be at least a middle of the pack quarterback when he's healthy, at least. So it is, and he's a marquee name, whether you like it or not. But no matter how good you think Kyler is, he is a marquee name. That game will be drawn up as a QB battle. And so I definitely think Caleb will go into it with let me take this dude down and and get myself up another rung. And maybe people maybe might consider me a top 12 quarterback at this point. I was listening to Jordan Palmer on a pod last year. And he said he thought Caleb was a top 12 quarterback in that very moment he was talking. So I was just like, okay, that's an interesting take. And like, these quarterback coaches that like have this like training business on the side, like they are a little hyperbolic. Like I get it, but like I do think there's some merit. Like Jordan Palmer doesn't say that about everybody.
Right.
So it's like, I do think Caleb might have that mindset. It's just like, I want to be considered top tier by the end of this. Like, I could see that being a goal on like like a personal journal of his top tier end of year one. That's where I want to be held.
Yep.
That's the standard I'm holding for myself.
I mean, and CJ Stroud just did that. Is anyone looking at CJ Stroud as anything below tier 1? Or maybe like if you want to be, because if he's a rookie, prove it to me again, tier 2. I mean, like he's not far off. Like the roadmap is there. You know what I mean? We've seen this. The only thing I want to add to that, Nas, is you're right. Sometimes quarterback coaches and the ones who are working people can be a little bit hyperbolic, but like hyperbolic, like look at what was being said about Justin when he was drafted the Bears. Obviously, he was the right pick in the moment. You couldn't not do anything else, but it was the hyperbolic was like, oh, he processes a little bit slow. Once he gets to the NFL, he'll be fine. He knows how to read a defense. He's going to be a starter for a very long time in this league. It wasn't, he's a top 12. Even Trevor Lawrence. No one was saying that about Trevor Lawrence at all. And that's my point. Like when people, whether where I work or just elsewhere meet me and they're like, oh, like you do bear stuff. I'm like, yeah, well, what'd you think about the Justin Caleb? What'd you think I'm like, listen, just to break it down in layman's terms, so I'm not sitting here giving you a full fucking podcast breakdown of it. Like when you talk to these scouts, Caleb Williams, you're talking about scouts saying that the only 2 prospects, maybe, not even for sure, that are in the same conversation of like being picked over him since Peyton Manning are Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. Maybe Trevor Lawrence, just as prospects, not taking what they did in the pros, just from their college profile. You don't pass that up. You know what I mean? And it's to your point is like, people do think that highly of him, that he's a top 12, top 15 guy right now the second he laces up some cleats in week 1. Because that's how talented he is, and you just don't, you don't pass it up. So when people say stuff like that to you, again, they don't speak that way about anybody else. This isn't a thing where here goes so-and-so on, FM 1000 talking shit again about the good in a good way about the next prospect. This does not happen. It just doesn't.
No, it really doesn't, man. Like it's got me gassed up. Tell you what, I'll listen to that shit all day. Let's go.
Listen, Nas, I may or may not have looked into how much it costs to be in a medically induced coma for a few months just to like get me to the season. Because by all accounts, when you wake up from a coma, it just feels like you slept and you woke. You know what I mean? Like just get me there. I'm ready for it, baby.
100%.
Last one that's circled, and then we get into the last thing that I wanted to talk about, Nas. Obviously, the Patriots pick again. Drake May was, some guys had him above, which I think you're just being cute at that point. Yeah, it's some people do that. But he's a psycho. I think he's circling that. Also, that should be a very winnable game. I don't anticipate the Patriots being very good this coming season, and then they're going to get rid of Drake May in favor of Shador next draft. It's going to be a mess for them for quite some time. They have to repay for their sins of winning so many Super Bowls. But yeah, I think that's another one. Noon game, Week 10 at Chicago. That's another one where I think, we talk about the Commanders having the ability to blow them out. This is one where he's going to want to put his foot on the neck.
I'm not even sure we'll be playing Drake May that week. The start of the season could go so bad that they're like, all right, like this kid needs more time. Could be Jacoby Brissett that week.
You could be right.
Could be a letdown game for that reason alone.
Right. I hope you're wrong, but you're not. You're the logic checks out. You're not. I hope it's not correct, but I didn't even take that into consideration. So hopefully not. Then it's just Caleb beating on an old man.
To be Drake, but because I think. If there is one thing about like this Tampa 2 kind of scheme and lineage, it eats up rookie quarterbacks.
Yep,
really does. So if it is Drake that week, I will gladly take it because I think we will stomp the shit out of those guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now here, Nas, this is the other thought that I had about sort of the tale of 2 seasons, because what you've talked about. It's funny that you've touched on this because that's exactly why I think this has the opportunity to be a totally different, not perfect second half of the season, but starting with the division games, you may start looking at this team in a more negative light because, again, there's not very many offenses that scare me in the first 10 weeks. Houston's scary. Jags potentially scary. The Rams as well. The Rams are scary. Those are three where I can see the defense getting sliced up a bit. But I think the prevailing thought after week 10 is going to be this is a top 5 defense. They beat the shit out of Will Levis in week 1 and Anthony Richardson in week 3 and all these other dudes they did what they were supposed to, because we saw this last year when they put it together. They beat the bad teams. They beat on the bad quarterbacks. They made Joshua Dobbs, they were the first team to make him look normal. And it was like shit. But then they play these real teams. And that's where that Lovie Smith debacle comes in of like, are you even really good, or did you get good talent and like you can't really beat the good ones? And week 11, not only because it's just the Packers, that's going to be the first outside of Houston. Houston will be so far gone that game, regardless of what happens. You may not even be considering that anymore. But especially if the Bears beat them down somehow, if that cover 2 just swallows CJ Stroud, this is going to be the first time in quite some time they're playing, I think, an above average good quarterback with a good system, with a good coach. And you're talking the Vikings, who knows, but the Lions twice, the Niners for sure are going to be a fucking struggle unless it's another tsunami game. We can get lucky, but I don't think the Seahawks are going to be as bad as people think. They never are. They're always a tough out. They're a physical football team. Like, you're talking about a string from week 11 to week 18 where we may think going into week 11, maybe even Super Bowl heights, to like going into week 16 against the Lions, like you might have lost the last 4 of your last 5. You know what I mean? Like it has a chance to be a totally different outlook that second half.
I completely agree. Like we could walk into that game and we could be 5-4 and we are like, okay, what's cool about this schedule is like, we could be 5-4 and be like, well, we haven't even played any divisional games yet. So like the hope is alive late in the season.
Yep.
Which is a lot of freaking fun, dude. And I couldn't be more thrilled about the way this is going to be laid out. And Minnesota, the JJ McCarthy pick, the more I step away from the draft, the more of a mistake I think it was.
I agree.
It's like, damn, you guys were trending really well last year. Like, you guys had dog shit QBs. The team was playing fucking hard. I don't think JJ can play, dude.
I don't think he can either.
And players in the locker room, if they can sense he can't play, like, it's going to be hard to convince them to play that hard again. They played I thought it was one of the best coaching jobs in the league. Like, easily.
Agreed.
Man, the best part about this is like if us, the Packers, and like the Lions were all over 500 and we're going into that second half of the season and it's still a toss-up, like it's gonna be thrilling. Truly
Agreed.
Thrilling.
I can't wait. I know, and I'm very excited about it, and that's where I've been saying it all offseason. I'm going to continue to say it when it comes up. We can't hide from expectations. If we're 5-4, if we're 6-3, hell, even again, I can see, and I'm not saying that the Bears would be 7-2 because they're that good. I'm just saying that schedule, that first 10 weeks, the teams that really scare me are Houston and the Rams. Houston and the Rams, Jaguars maybe, but so three.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I could see it going really good. I could see it going really bad, man. Like,
agreed. There's a flip end to that. There's a flip end to that where the Titans are just too physical for the Bears. Things haven't gelled yet. There's a way where they can't stop Anthony Richardson. We know how athletic and crazy he is, that he just goes off on. Like, there's a world in which they're stumbling into week 11. And you're like, all right, maybe this is a 6-win team, 7-win team. Let's regroup into next year. But again, living in a world where they look really good, or even the scenario that you painted, forget it. What if they're 4-5, 5-4? Go for it, dude. Let's not hide from this. This is where we've been talking about. We have a psychopath competitor. This is where we have a defensive head coach that if he doesn't have his shit together, you're going to get fired, dude. And that doesn't mean necessarily make the playoffs, because we have no idea. What if like the Lions and the Packers, are both double-digit win teams, and it's like it is what it is, but. It's just about handling adversity. There's going to be a lot of adversity in the second half of that season, and if they're not prepared for it, if the quarterback isn't a psychopath that we thought he is, which I don't anticipate that ever not being a thing, but this is a time where it's like, all right, dude, cuff up that cuff your nutsack. Let's go in here. Let's fucking get some wins. Let's grit out some wins here.
I am worried for Flus. a little bit. I wasn't going into like before the schedule release, but like the reason I guess I'm so unsure about the first half of the season is because I think a lot of these are going to be tight games. I could see the Houston game getting out of hand and being that could be a blowout against like where we lose like 35-10. Like I could see that week 2. And other than that, I think every other game is probably close, like a one possession game. And as we have just witnessed, this is not Fluce's strong suit. So
Yeah.
it's like there is a scenario which I actually didn't think this existed, but now that I see the schedule, there is a scenario where we go like 9-8 and he loses his job.
Yeah. It would be, I mean, again, it's tough to be a coach in his situation because it's not like Kyle Shanahan, it's not Sean McVay, even like defensively, like what you saw with Bill Belichick for years, the advantage he gave them on special teams and on defense, he brought something to the table schematically that gave them an edge. Now, we've seen coaches who are more, and Andy Reid is another one, obviously, on the offensive side. We've seen coaches in the past have a ton of success because I think this way of Mike Vrabel, and I think he should have a job. I think he's one of the top 10 coaches in this league. It's almost absurd that he doesn't have a job. But I don't know if he necessarily gives his team a schematic advantage. He's really good in managing the game, and he's really good at culture setting. I think that's what Flus has. I think his culture setting is A1. He's very good at that. But I need you, if you're not going to give us a schematic advantage, I need you to not fuck things up and blow games that analytics say that blowing all three is like a 0.000041 chance. You can't operate that way.
I mean, he's calling the defense again, so it's like,
yep.
There's a great clip of Tomlin from last season because he is a game manager style coach.
He's another one. Yep.
And it's the end of the game, and he is telling the OC what he wants to finish the game. Like he's like, all right, like I want like a rhythm throw here, something easy that's going to get the ball out of his hands. Like call this. If Flus will not be looking at the field. If the defense is struggling, he's gonna be watching the offense. Like it's a disadvantage defensively. Because it's like, when are you going to get the time to connect with your players for the next drive? Like, it's a huge concern. And I think it will ultimately be his undoing. Whether or not it might not be this season, but when this team wins the Super Bowl, he will not be the coach. Unless Caleb ascends on such a crazy fucking level that we as his biggest supporters can't even see.
Yeah.
Whenever we do win the Super Bowl, and I think we will, because the way the team building is going, we are going to be in contention for one at least. If we win, I don't think he'll be the coach. I can't see it.
I agree. I mean, because to me, when I'm looking at this, and even forget the schedule, just the feel of the team, what I've been saying, I think their floor is 6 wins. Just it's too talented to be any lower than that. The floor is 6. Looking at the schedule, seeing
the NFL. Like,
right, exactly. Exactly. But I can see, I mean, the ceiling is 11, maybe, in that range. So something like that. So usually that means you're in the middle. Let's say the scenario you painted, 9 wins, 8 wins. Even if they sneak into the playoffs with that, is it shocking to you to see an ascending offense, a defense that we see get unpantsed again by the Packers twice, again by the Lions, again by the 49ers, and Ryan Poles says, you know what? We signed Shane Waldron for a reason, and we want this continuity on offense. We have to get Flus out of here, elevate him to head coach, sign him to a 4-year contract or whatever, and we're on the DC hunt, or you hire internally. Because, again, especially in today's NFL, the OC is always going to is going to make a greater impact as a head coach schematically than a defensive guy is. There's just not very many. The guy that the Rams signed, I'm blanking on his name. I think he's one of those ones that does provide that. But Vic Fangio was another one. But it's very far and few between that happens.
Well, it's like the rules are all catering to the offensive end. So
exactly.
It's like it has to be that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see a world even. I don't know. They could even win 10 games. And again, it's going to be more about how they win these ball games. If it's Caleb Williams being Superman, if it's Shane Waldron dialing up really good plays, and this defense not carrying its weight, that's what you're here for, Flus. You're the head coach, but you're also the DC. And if you can't provide us that, you can't, because the thing is, you can't lean and say, well, you know what? I bit off more than I can chew. Get us a DC. You had Alan Williams here, dude. Your hire sucked. Why should we have any faith in you to go out and find a new guy?
Totally. Well, I will say, we're talking a lot about Flus. My expectations from Waldron is I want to see a legitimate 2-minute offense out here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. That is going to be the number one thing. I actually don't care if they're not on the same page drive to drive. I expect that. That's what this season is going to be kind of for. They're going to develop that chemistry during the season on those 4, 6, 8-minute drives. I want to see the 2-minute be somewhat functional by week 2. Like, I want to see it. I want to see us put points up on the board in those middle minutes, closing a half, opening at half, closing games. Like, I want that. That was the most. That's been the most disappointing part of the Bears offensively for the last 30 years. It's always been horrendous. I would like to see a cleaned up version of that, where like there's no lead that's safe for the other team because we got a guy who can manage the clock, make the right throws. That's my expectation from the Bears. Like, get that first is how I would prioritize it, to be honest.
I agree. Nas, I don't know why I'm hearing sirens from your mic. You're on the north side, brother. Tell them to get their shit together. Y'all have resources. To add on to that point, though, I also want to see the 4-minute drill. Close game. We need a field goal to win it. Manage it. Easy throws. Get there. Let's do like that. That to me, I'm right there with you. The other thing, though, that I want, how awesome is it to see some of these breakdowns from guys who know way more than us schematically and say, man, like, look at what McVay did. Or I don't even want to name the bigger names. It's not always just the geniuses. We got the guys that we know were geniuses. Like, they ran this play twice because they were setting up this run to the right, set up that play, and it was the same formation, but they did something total. I want a little bit of that. I don't mean the high level, super high IQ. I just want things that make sense. I don't want to see a trips right, and I'm like, oh, here comes another bubble screen. Because again, I don't want to act like I know everything. I'm fucking dumb. I'm a fan. I like doing this podcast to talk with other fans of the Bears. If I see it, there's no fucking way DCs don't see it. That's crazy. I shouldn't be able to see shit like that out of an offense.
Right.
What I want is just, things that make sense within this offense to take advantage of the players that they have. Don't try to fit into things because you're so married to some scheme. If there's certain games, I'm thinking like Houston, that may be a game where we have to keep it close, and that goes into what we're saying, these 2-minute make sense offenses where they ran the ball 45 times because they just have to play clock control. This isn't a game where Caleb can take over just yet. We're not all there. We're not all that comfortable. There may be a game like that, or there may be multiple games like that. Do things that make fucking sense, man. I'm sick of seeing these offenses that are unwatchable, that are predictable. Give me just things that mesh well, because again, like that was the biggest thing. Why for the last couple of years, it was like, people still had their opinions on Justin. We were also in that boat, but it was like, how at the end of the day, how can you fully evaluate him? Because you have these guys that are showing that are doing these breakdowns, and they're like, Luke Getsy is having guys run the same exact route on the same exact part of the field. What would any quarterback do here? Like, of course, Justin ran the ball because it was like there was no. And again, it wasn't always the case. Justin still made mistakes, and there were plays drawn up that were very good, but that happened way more often than it should have been for an NFL offense. That was embarrassing. We can't have that. We can't stunt this quarterback's growth. We can't. In all honesty, not just his growth. We can't let this talent go to waste, dude. We invested in Keenan Allen, who's 32 years old. He's an old man. I say that as I'm about to be 32 this year as well. But like, we have some veterans who are here to fucking win, man. So like, I know me and you are being realistic and talking about development as we should. They're not here for that though. They're here. They know. They think if you gave Keenan Allen truth serum, I think he would tell you this is the best or one of the best scenarios he's ever been in his career.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
The receiver room, the quarterback. I mean,
oh my God, we just got to keep this dude upright.
Yep, agreed.
And I'm not even and I'm literally not even worried.
Yeah,
we keep him upright. I'm not worried about the decision making.
Yeah, no,
I'm really not.
Totally agreed. But again, keeping it upright also consists of not having your fucking third receiver try to chip block a defensive end, not putting Khalil Herbert one-on-one with an offensive a pass rusher or picking up blitzes that he's not prepared for. Like, let's do things that actually make sense here, man. And I promise it'll all work out. They're too talented.
Right, for sure.
So
Totally agree.
I'm excited. Nas. All that to say, I don't see us losing any. I mean, I don't see us winning any less than 17 games. I just don't. I look at this. I look at this roster. I look at this schedule, and I think 17-0.
I like that. I like that for us. Wonder what the odds are for that.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, we didn't touch too much on this, but the Bears over under win totals at 8.5.
Ooh, fuck, that's perfect, dude. I mean, because we both said I can see this 7, I can see this 10 or 11. That's oof.
Yeah, I think that's kind of high. Like, I think Vegas thinks they're going to be good. That's kind of high for them. So
It is. Can you quickly pull up the rest of the NFC North? I would wager that every other team is around there except for the Vikings. Yeah, Packers are probably 9.5.
Let's see here. Lions 10.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lions are 9, or Packers are 9.5.
Packers looking. Packers 9.5.
And Bears are 8.5.
Bears 8.5.
Vikings are probably 5.5. I'd wager.
Vikings are 7.5 from FanDuel, and then 6.5 at 2 other places.
7.5 is a lot.
That's kind of a lot.
Their defense fucking stinks.
I don't really know where people think that's coming from. That's absurd. I would take the under on that all. 7.5, taking the under all.
Oh, easy. 6.5, you get a little queasy because they are professionals at the end of the day. You can see them sneaking wins that they don't deserve, but that extra win or 2 wins, that's tough.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think my sneaky. I don't know if it's sneaky. I think my prediction is the Lions are going to shit the bed.
They could. I just feel like they're built so well in the trenches, though. Like that's the next thing.
Of someone who's going to be upright a lot, like, it's going to be hard to get to Jared Goff.
But I'm saying, dude,
even though we beat the shit out of them last year,
that's what we do, baby. You know what I mean? Bear down, Chicago Bears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's going to be twice as bad this year.
Yeah. Listen, I'm excited for the season. Listeners, we got a lot of fun stuff planned. I've already teased one of the things. I'm so excited about the 2015 comparison because that's really what this feels like. We'll be doing other stuff like, what retired Bear in their prime would you put on this roster? We can only pick one or maybe like a couple. I don't know. We'll sort of do that. Was one thing I really want to do, Nas. I forgot to introduce it. I got to text it so it's all there. I want to do an NFC North fantasy football draft where we get like a random generator, me, you, Jack, and we draft, quarterback, couple running backs, couple receivers, tight ends, defense. I think that'd be great. And maybe even head coach. Maybe we have to pick head coach along in that as well and make like a little fantasy offensive.
I like that.
I think that could be really fun.
Let's go. Yeah. It's going to be a fun summer. I'm excited to do these things.
Agreed. It's going to be great. I'm excited for it. Nas, any closing thoughts?
Not really. I mean, bear down, man. Like, Caleb's gonna light these defenses up. Oh my God!
I know.
Yeah, those are my closing thoughts.
I know.
Caleb's gonna light people
up. I'm so excited. And the thing is, here's my closing thought. Listen, I know we said we weren't gonna make too many predictions because we're not, but the Bears are gonna beat the fuck out of Titans in week 1. Like, they're gonna swallow Will Levis alive. That defense and going into that Houston game, this is one of the things that I'm talking about, coaching wise, hype wise. We need to lean into it a little bit, but we're going to really see how they respond because people are going to look at the Bears different after week 1. Going into week 2, after a dominant defensive performance, Caleb tosses 2-3 touchdowns, maybe a pick because he's a rookie, but I think they dominate the Titans. Week 2 is you're going to see how they when they're smelling themselves a little bit, how they respond to that.
Right. I like that. Yeah, no, those opening weeks, man. The CJ week 2. I mean, good job, NFL.
It's going to be so fucking good. I love it. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We can be heard everywhere that podcasts can be heard, but can only be viewed on YouTube. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and we will catch y'all next time. Later, Nas. Later, everybody.
Later. See ya.